They sold her with a single word stamped over her fate, infertile. That word followed the Apache girl like a shadow as she stood chained beside three others in the dusty livestock yard. Her eyes fixed not on the men bidding for her, but on the endless horizon beyond the ranch fences. She did not cry. Apache women were taught never to give their captors that satisfaction. But inside her chest, something ancient and fierce was burning. Her name was Neil, though no one there cared to ask. To them, she was merely the barren one. The girl no man would want except for hard labor or silent nights. The trader made sure to repeat it loudly, almost proudly, as if it were a selling point. "Can't bear children," he shouted. No risk, strong body obedient. The lie had been spoken so many times that even Neil wondered if the spirits had abandoned her. She remembered the night her village burned. The screams, the smoke, her mother pushing her into the tall grass, whispering prayers to the earth before gunshots cut the word short. Neil had survived not because she was weak, but because she was unseen. And now she stood here, seen by everyone, valued by no one. That was when the rancher arrived. Elias Crow was not like the other men. He did not shout or spit or bargain loudly. He stood back, leaning against a rail fence, his dark coat dusty from travel, his eyes sharp but tired. He had buried a wife once long ago, and with her the sound of laughter in his home. His ranch had grown large, his cattle strong, but his house had grown silent. He had not come to buy a woman. He had come to buy hands to help with the coming winter. But something about the girl's stillness caught his attention. She did not lower her eyes. She did not beg. She watched. "Her," he said quietly. The trader grinned. "You don't want her, mister. No womb, useless for family." Elias stepped closer. He saw the scars on her wrists and the quiet strength in her posture. "I don't buy wombs," he replied. "I buy people who can work." The deal was done quickly. As Neil was led away, she felt something unfamiliar. Not hope, but uncertainty, which for the first time in months felt lighter than despair. The Crow Ranch lay far from the trading post, stretching wide beneath open skies, rolling land, clean water, tall trees whispering in the wind. When they arrived, Neil expected cruelty, orders, chains. Instead, Elias removed the cuffs himself and handed her water. "You work," he said simply. "You eat, you rest. If you run, I won't chase." She stared at him, suspicious. No white man spoke like that. The first weeks passed in silence. Neil worked harder than anyone. She mended fences, tended horses, carried feed until her shoulders burned. The ranch hands watched her with curiosity, some with cruelty. But Elias stopped that quickly. On his land, no one was less than human. At night, Neil slept in the small cabin near the barn. She spoke to no one. She dreamed of blood and fire. Sometimes she woke screaming. Elias heard it once while standing outside her door. His hand raised to knock, but he didn't. He knew some wounds could not be approached directly. Winter crept in slowly. And with it, something strange began to happen. Neil grew ill. At first she thought it was punishment. The spirits reclaiming what had been taken. She felt dizzy, nauseous. Her body ached in unfamiliar ways. The ranch cook muttered prayers. One of the men laughed cruelly. "Guess even barren girls get weak," he said. But Elias watched closely. He had seen sickness before, and this was not sickness. One morning, Neil collapsed in the field. They carried her to the main house. For the first time, she lay beneath a roof that did not leak, wrapped in clean blankets. Elias sent for the old midwife who lived beyond the river, a woman who had delivered half the county. The midwife examined Neil in silence, long silence. Then she looked up at Elias, her eyes wide as the prairie. "This girl is with child." The room froze. "That's impossible," Elias said. "They lied," the midwife snapped. "And badly. She is young, strong, and carrying life." When Neil awoke and heard the words, she wept not softly, but with the deep sobs of years of swallowed pain. She pressed her hands to her stomach, whispering Apache prayers, begging the spirits not to take this miracle away. Elias stood in the doorway, stunned. Someone had sold him a lie. Someone had branded this girl as broken to profit from her suffering. And now everything on his ranch and in his life had changed, but truth, once uncovered, has a way of calling. Danger toward itself. Somewhere the men who sold her were beginning to realize their mistake, and they would come back. The truth refused to stay quiet. The Crow Ranch soon felt its weight pressing against every wall and fence post. It began with a rider appearing at the edge of the property one cold morning, watching from a distance, counting, measuring, remembering before disappearing. Again, like a bad omen carried by the wind, Elias knew then that the past was no longer behind them. It was riding toward them. Neil felt it. Her hands rested protectively over her growing belly, her body now a vessel of something sacred. Days passed and whispers spread. Strangers were asking questions in nearby towns. A trader furious that the barren girl had been sold too cheaply, furious because a womb he thought empty was now carrying life worth more than gold. Elias prepared quietly. Fences were reinforced. Trusted men stayed alert. Rifles were loaded not for violence, but for defense, because this land had become a promise, and he would not allow it to be broken. The night they came was silent at first. Too silent. Then hoofs thundered through the darkness and lantern light cut across the yard. Neil woke with a gasp. Elias was already there. Hide, he told her calmly. Lifting the floorboard he had prepared days earlier, she climbed down, clutching her stomach and whispering prayers to the earth. Outside, harsh voices demanded property returned. They claimed lies were irrelevant when ownership had been paid for. Elias stepped onto the porch alone, lantern in hand. No human being is property on my land, he told them. For a moment it seemed words would fail. Then more riders approached. Neighbors, allies, men Elias had quietly summoned days before. The traders hesitated. The lie they had sold had finally cost them more than it earned. They left angry, threatened, but defeated. Dawn came pale and cold. Neil emerged from hiding, shaking and crying. Elias knelt before her, not as an owner, not as a savior, but as a man making a promise. You will never be hunted again, he said. Your child will be born free. For the first time since her village burned, she believed those words. Months passed. Her body changed as life grew inside her. The ranch changed too. Something softer lived there now. When the child finally came, it came with pain, prayers, and long hours through the night while the midwife worked and Elias waited outside with shaking hands. Then a cry pierced the darkness. Life. Proof that lies do not always win. Neil held her child beneath the morning sun and whispered an Apache name that meant returned by the spirits. Seasons passed. The story spread quietly of a ranch where a girl sold as broken had been proven whole, where courage exposed a lie, and where two wounded lives found a future neither had expected. Neil stood one evening beneath the great tree where deals had once been made, watching her child play in the dust. Elias stood beside her in silence, because some endings are not loud. Some are simply the quiet continuation of life where it was once meant to stop.